Hi everyone. Oh, that's much louder than I thought. My name is Janet Ogana. I'm the founder of Janet's List, and our brand helps people to discover amazing brands by Black women and women of color. I am the host for this panel. I'll start with a little disclaimer. Years of being a family lawyer means I can't talk and smile at the same time. So if I look very serious during this panel, just know that I'm very happy to be here. Obviously, we are talking about social media today. It is very high in terms of priorities for brands, both big and small. The impact of the pandemic and moving our lives online means that social media has really taken has formed a big part of our activity over the last year and a half. Something like 67% of consumers have increased their use of Instagram. So we have a great panel today, and we are going to be exploring some of these trends in conversation. The first thing to mention is, of course, I am not Fiona from Boss Your PR, so I'm stepping in to host this panel today. And I am joined by Francesca, Marie-Louise, and Fiona, and I'm going to get them to introduce themselves in a minute. So, Francesca.
Hello, I'm Francesca Rowan Plowden. I'm actually an interior designer, but recently branched out into setting my own online store as well, which is called FRP Home Store, which sells homewares and lifestyle goods.
Hi, I'm Marie-Louise. I'm a fashion PR, a social media expert, and also a fashion influencer. I have my own consultancy called MLPR, and I've worked with fashion and lifestyle brands for many years, high street and designer, doing both traditional and social media campaigns. As a fashion influencer, I am Mrs. ML Mode on Instagram, so that's Mrs. Marie-Louise Mode as in fashion. And over the last few years have built my following and work with brands, creating campaigns and creating content. So hopefully I can give you some insights on sort of both sides of the whole social media marketing spectrum.
Hello, I'm Fiona Mostyn, and my business is My Deco Marketing. I work exclusively with interior designers and home decor brands, helping them with content and social media strategy.
Fantastic. So let's just get straight into it. The first conversation we're going to have is about the impact of a socially conscious audience. Now, in 2020, I saw it firsthand in my brand. We had a racial reckoning. We were having lots of conversations about diversity. For me, it was diversity in business. But we know topics like politics, a climate emergency. So many of these topics are front and center. And so my question is, how has that made you approach your brands? Marie, do you want to go first?
Yes, I think social media gives all brands a fantastic opportunity to tell their story and have a mission. And whatever type of business you are, you have a story, and you need to really consider what your mission is, and spend time investing in how you're going to spread that word. So one of the brands that I work with is called Espiga, which is a sustainable and ethical fashion brand, and it was launched, the founder launched it over 15 years ago, very much about being an ethical fashion brand. And the momentum for that movement more recently has really built. So we spent a lot of time really putting together all that, the information and the storytelling and the messaging, and spreading that on using Instagram and other social media platforms to really put across your message. And by having a campaign and by having a mission and really caring, whatever that might be, you're going to engage with your customer and with your audience, and people will become part of that community. Yeah. And I also, just one final thing, it's a great way of connecting with other like-minded businesses, and you can become partners and do more collaboration.
Actually, just on that, so are there specific responses that brand that you're working with has seen from the customers? What seemed to land? What seemed to resonate with the audiences?
Well, taking Espiga, for example, what the brand has spent a lot of time doing is like working with different charities, different initiatives, and say where it is obviously for a fashion brand to be sustainable, it is challenging going back to sort of the materials that you might want to use that are maybe not sustainable, or it might not be viable to use organic cotton, say, across the whole collection, but where what she did was very clever, was tying in with a water charity, so where certain pieces couldn't be organic cotton, she would give a percentage of sales to a water charity, and kind of like try and do the best that they possibly can. So it's hard to kind of be 100% whatever your mission might be, but there's always ways around it to really be authentic.
Yeah,
I think what you were saying about how with the pandemic we've had to really sort of reassess how we are on Instagram. I think it's what Mary Louise said about storytelling. It's about being more personable with your brand, or whether you're a person on Instagram, because I think with the pandemic we had to sort of relate in a much more personal way than we'd ever known we'd had to do before, especially Zooms at home. And if you put a face to your brand, I've noticed it really enhances it. People want to engage with people far more than they do just for products or just images. And so that part of storytelling is really important, I think.
Yeah, and isn't there an element of authenticity as well, where they, for many brands, so particularly last year in 2020, there's the education piece where as a founder you actually have to get that knowledge and get that information and do the reading and the conversations and having that journey almost, because customers can see through.
You can't coast it. You don't want to coast it. You have to be authentic. Your brand is your story. People want to know where it comes from. They want to know how it's made, if it's sustainable. They want to know who's selling it. And, that's really important now, and everyone has to be authentic, I think.
But also, I think it's sharing the challenges as well, because that's really, you learn through your challenges, you learn through mistakes, and where brands can actually share that. It's engaging. We can connect with that.
Yeah, Fiona.
I think it's important to remember that consumers have so much choice now. They've never had as much choice in how they buy things, whether they buy them in person, in the stores in the high street, or whether they go online. And as Marie-Louise says, the storytelling part of that is really, really important. If, effectively all products, if it was just a question of like product and price, we'd buy everything every day off Amazon, wasn't it? I mean, but it's really important with social media, having the opportunity to show the story behind the brand and the storytelling, and also the ethics behind the brand as well, and educate your consumer in that conscious aspect of your business. Consumers want to align their spending with brands that they feel are worthy, of them investing in.
Yeah, and that brings us nicely to our second topic, which is around social shopping. So, for many of us, we found ourselves on Instagram, seeing that post and just going straight to the shop and pressing click and spending. But I think it would be great just to hear some insights from you in terms of social shopping, what role that plays for your business now, and whether that looks different since the pandemic. So I think, Fiona, you wanted to get in on that one.
I mean, social shopping really did take off through the pandemic. We were all stuck at home. That people spend a hell of a lot more time on social media. So and especially in the home decor, in the lifestyle area, that was primed for people to spend their money on now. So it's now a question of catching up and bringing that into the post-pandemic world. I think we're seeing consumers building in that social experience. They absolutely love social media, and they love going to Instagram and catching up on, filling their day with these inspiring pictures. And so brands can really take a hold of that and make sure that they are on social media, but also make sure that they are engaging as well as just selling. It doesn't work in a catalogue sense where you're just like, right, this is my thing, buy my thing. It has to be the storytelling that we're going back to.
So just before we get to a bit of audience participation, show of hands, how many people have bought something because they've seen a post on social media or have been influenced by it? So I think that sort of tells us, it sort of shows us where we are. And I think, Marie, TikTok has played a role for you in your business.
Well, not for me, but for my daughter, who's 22, and she's graduated from Edinburgh University and actually, funny enough, during lockdown, got really into TikTok, and just through that has recently got a job as a social media strategist working for a sustainable beauty brand called Bolt Beauty. And it's just so interesting to see how much TikTok are really working with brands to become a marketplace for product sales. And they hosted a number of TikTok lives with this beauty brand, Bolt, and TikTok got completely behind the brand, was pushing its algorithms out there. They got thousands of views, and what is is interesting is on TikTok, where you've got your comment box, there's a little shopping basket, so the brand that's live, you can literally, rather than comment, you can just click on that basket and you go straight through to the shop. So it's like almost like becoming a QVC type. And I would just say about TikTok, I'm really not an expert, I just got a little bit of insight. But with Instagram, me as an Instagrammer, things go wrong with your account, some people lose their accounts. There's literally Instagram has got really bad service for the consumer, for the account holders. You can't get anyone to help you. And TikTok, I saw that they literally have Zoom calls with their brands. So my one advice is, guys, really, whatever your business is, have a look at TikTok and start to think about how you can take your shop onto TikTok as well as Instagram. The Instagram and Shopify is obviously an amazing platform. You just tap and you can see the Shopify app and all those insights that it gives you. Well, look at those insights because you can then sort of see what people are actually shopping. But yeah.
But it's also what we were saying, there's so much competition on Instagram that you've got to go that step forward. But also, as you say, it's like QVC, and people's attention spans are short, and if there's lots of things going through their screen at that one point, if they can buy it right there rather than kind of go to the link in bio or go onto the website or whatever it is, then it's you've got that customer straight away.
Yeah. And just Fiona.
I'd just like to add to that, I think that the TikTok is really an important platform, and if you're thinking about it or if you haven't thought about it, you really need to jump on now. It's a really early opportunity to get in there. You can look at huge brands that we all know from our high streets are now on TikTok, and they've only got maybe a couple of thousand followers. It's that early days on there as well. And also during the pandemic, I think many people thought of TikTok as a very sort of youth-driven platform. Like, why should I invest in there? It's like, is there anyone over 15 watching TikTok? But however, during the pandemic, that really, really changed, and their demographic changed to the people spending money on the kind of things that we all sell. So it's definitely worth looking at investing there.
How many of us are using TikTok? How many of us are afraid of using TikTok? So I think we have a bit of homework there. So the next topic we're going to discuss is video, which is something that I am very passionate about as a brand founder. I think it's a really fantastic way of getting people to understand you as a founder, your products, and what it is that you represent. So, Marie-Louise, let's start with you. I think Reels is something that you're quite hot on.
Oh, well, I try. But no, obviously Instagram probably a year ago introduced Reels, which is a TikTok version of a very easy way of creating some sort of clever, very fun video content. So my first sort of tip would be to watch Reels, watch what other brands in your sector are doing and save them for inspiration. And then my second tip is something that I learned from my husband over there. He's a creative director, and I was having to do some campaigns for my Instagram account, and didn't really know where to start, and so he got me to do like a kind of a storyboard. And so with a reel, you've got 60 seconds or 30 seconds, so you just create your introduction, your middle, and your ending, and then work out how much time each of those sections will do, and then do a little picture if you can, a sort of visual of it, and just sort of plan it in advance. And then my other tip on Reels is always save it download it onto your phone. Don't just leave it when you save it as a draft, because you might suddenly lose all your drafts. And then you can, once you saved it onto your phone, you can then also edit it off the app into another app, like putting in credits and that sort of thing, and then reload it back onto Instagram. But don't be afraid of it. Have fun. I do training in Reels if anyone is interested in having any training on it. But I just generally watch, save, get inspiration, and plan.
Yeah, and Francesca, you use video as well.
I use them a lot, and actually just on the saving thing, I often do them, and then I do a screen recording, because I'm paranoid about losing everything, because my kids use my phone a lot, and then I'm like, don't do that. Just screen record it as well, because then you can edit it.
Yeah.
But also in regards to, I use it a lot on the interior design side of things, talking about, design and colour and things, and then I use it for the shop. And I think, like the storyboard thing, you've got to think, how does your reel, how does it represent your brand? what kind of music are you using? What kind of styling are you using? Are you talking? Are you all those sorts of things? And I love music, so I have a sort of specific feel for the music that I use for the brand.
Yeah.
And likewise, the sort of filters I use and things like that. So kind of when you're doing them, that's your little showcase. It's a 60-second, shop window. How does that reflect your brand?
Yeah, but Reels is one part of video. So, for example, as a brand, Janet's List, we started doing YouTube. I never thought I'd be a YouTuber, but YouTube gives the opportunity to really get into the product, to really demonstrate the knowledge. Is this something that you've considered as brand?
Yeah, no, I do also IGTV, so I talk through the product. And I try not to do too long, because people have not got a very long attention span on IGTV. So probably I'd say the ones are about 3 to 4 minutes, the most successful ones.
Okay.
Sometimes they're 7 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's that shop kind of assistant experience. You're talking through, because if they're seeing it online, they don't know the size necessarily on a table. They don't know the texture. And so you're saying this is this lovely recycled cotton, this hurricane lamp is this big. And it's that shop experience, because although people are shopping online, they want to have that personal interaction. And I think and then they can ask questions as well.
Yeah.
So if you answer that while you're talking, it's like being in a shop.
And obviously video content takes a long time to produce. So one of the things to think about is how else can you use it. And Fiona, I think repurposing content is something that you do quite well.
Absolutely. I think it's really important to remember that many different people will consume content across many different platforms. Not everyone loves Instagram, not everyone loves Pinterest, not everyone loves YouTube. But the more hits you give, the more places that you are, as long as you can manage them effectively. Don't take on more than you can effectively produce content for. The better that is for your website and your shop, and all algorithms are prioritizing video. So and YouTube is a great one. Obviously, YouTube is a Google product, so that says it all. Using YouTube is really great for your video, for your website. But also, very simply, things like Reels, if you're spending a lot of time using Reels, you already creating Reels, you already have some great content which you can repurpose into Pinterest idea pins, which you can repurpose into TikTok and get yourself going on TikTok. It's already there. Just download your videos and then do it. And I'd also say, Brenda's sort of point is very important about considering your brand and how you style your videos and how you want your videos to portray your store and the things that you sell. However, I wouldn't let that stop you from going out there and creating those videos and simply learning from that process, because some of the things that are very successful across Instagram and TikTok are the very raw videos, are the very kind of homespun, because it's genuine and it's authentic as well.
Yeah.
And over on Pinterest, we see great success from some of our clients who are very creative, and their creative process, fuels their design process for the textiles that they create. And so we get to go behind the scenes, and the videos that we create of the sort of the printing process and the drawing process and the ground up creative process are very successful on that platform.
So can we do a very quick fire on content types for video? Because it's well and good us sitting here saying, you need to produce videos that are great for your business, but actually what are some of the content ideas that have worked for us? So let's do a quick fire. So on Janet's List, behind the scenes, whenever we set up pop-ups, people love that. But also customer Q&As about specific products. Those sorts of videos tend to do really well. Francesca?
Well, I was going to say that, and a tip I'd forgotten that someone told me, and then I realised it was working, is if you put a face to your reels on the cover, the algorithm picks it up more. Especially if it features people's eyes. But, content is you've got to do Q&A, you've got to talk through things, see what's selling, what's not selling, understanding that, and adapt to your market.
Marie-Louise?
I think for all brands, just for me personally as a punter on Instagram, I followed one particular jewellery brand for a long time, and then suddenly the owner pops up on Instagram and was telling her story and just showing how she designed. And instantly I became more connected to that brand. And as a PR, I work with lots of businesses, and quite often the owner or the founder might be a bit embarrassed or a bit nervous about pushing themselves forward out there, but it's really not the era to be nervous and shy anymore. It's like, we've got this platform, we've got this opportunity, and so I think, whoever is behind that brand or the face of it, just use this platform to tell the story.
Okay. And Fiona?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, the creative process that feeds into the final product, that opportunity to see, behind the scenes and from the ground up. And similarly to what Francesca and Marie-Louise have just said, that personal connection. And I know we all cringe at the idea of being on video, and it's something you've got to get over. And the main thing that you should think about to get over that is every time you appear in video content, it will make you money.
What about live streaming? Are we doing live streaming?
I do it, but I live by the beach, so sometimes the Wi-Fi is not so good. But, it's being authentic, and there are moments where I'm yabbering away and no one knows what I'm saying, and then they say, we've lost you. So, live streaming is brilliant, and it is that, interaction with the customer, but, make sure you've got good Wi-Fi.
I mean, I would say about Instagram is you've got a number of platforms to use, and one of them is Insta Live, obviously IGTV and Reels. Definitely do your Insta Lives. And team up. You can do Insta Live rooms, so you can bring 4 people in there and have a bit of fun. They're quite informal, aren't they? So it doesn't really matter if something goes wrong.
People love the things going wrong, basically.
Exactly. But you'll get more views.
And if you don't want to do it on your platform, find someone who is really good at hosting them. Find someone who it has a platform that accepts creative, interesting businesses to come and talk, and ask them to go and talk on their lives.
And we've had some success with live streaming in our physical spaces as well. So whenever you have an opportunity for something that's different, that's slightly out there, that people wouldn't usually have access to, that to me also is an opportunity to live stream.
And I was just going to pick on Fiona's point as well, is when you choose someone to do a live IGT chat or something, it does raise your numbers, it does expand your profile, because their followers may not already be following you. And I've noticed that, I've then gained more followers because they just happen to follow that other person, not me. So it's a really good way of building your engagement as well.
And in all of this, we're trying to build our audiences, because we're trying to reach more customers, because ultimately at the end of the day it leads to the bottom line and sales, right? So social media advertising. Who shall I start with? Fiona, is this something that...
Yeah, absolutely. Social media. I mean, there's two things you can do in your business, and in fact, pretty much in anything in life, is always a trade-off between time and money. Okay, so if you've got a lot of time, if you're a start of your business, and you have all the time to be spending on social media, engaging, putting tons and tons of posts out there, but if you want to do it quickly, advertise. That's the quick route to it.
What platforms are we thinking of?
Well, really across everything, really, from Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook. Those are the 3 that I'd really recommend for sort of the home decor and lifestyle businesses. But it's really important, I think, if you are going to go down that route of social media advertising, to have your goal in mind and to structure your campaign to reach the goals that you have in mind. There will be a different type of campaign that you will put in place if you want to sell a specific product at a specific time. There will be a different type of campaign that you'll put in place if you want to raise brand awareness of your brand and the things that you do. There'll be a different type of campaign for increasing your followers, and all of those have specific strategies and they're down to the kind of creative content that you will use to put out there for people to see, and the behind the scenes sort of technical aspects of how you will structure the data that advert is targeted at. So it's really important to have your goals in mind and put the strategy in place for the right advertising campaign.
Because it's social media advertising, the actual setup of the ads can be quite daunting. It can be quite an overwhelming process. What are some tangible tips to help people in the audience of where they can go to get that information that will help with social media advertising?
I think for me personally, it's about finding who your audience already is, who's engaging with your posts already. So when you're choosing your audience, it's no point choosing an audience that you know is not necessarily going to buy your product. So you've got to be quite specific, and just as well as planning, as a small business, you've got a budget. You've got to say, I'm not going to spend more than this, because you can do it very quickly. It can add up, and you've got to. I do a month, leave it. See what the returns are. You've got to watch it, because I've made the mistake of going, I can't be bothered to post this week, I'll do a sponsored post, and then the ads have sort of come up, and then you go, oh God, I've spent a lot of money doing that. Have I got that return? Have I got those sales? So just watch the analytics of it as well.
And I think understanding the cost of how much it costs you to acquire a customer and being very clear about that number does make a difference.
And are those customers? You may get the followers, but are they buying? That's the big difference.
Yeah, and sometimes in social media advertising, you see ads where we have influencers as part of the ads. I think Marie-Louise, that's something that
with a few of my clients that I work with, we work with obviously have an influencer campaign, and some of that campaign might be just by gifting, but certain ones we would identify within the fashion arena that we can see that they get particularly good results, say, on their stories and when they do styling videos. So rather than sponsoring one particular post, for them to just do a post, we would sponsor their styling video and ensure we've got the rights to use that as advertising content, because we know that that content they've done for their followers has delivered sales because they're on an affiliate scheme, so we can then use that content and share it through Facebook ads, for example, which obviously always gives a really good return. So I was just going to suggest that within your marketing budget, if you have got, just really use, when you work with influencers and you pay them, make sure you can use that content for your own advertising.
Yeah, and just on the topic of influencers, so obviously during the pandemic, for many brands like mine that have a physical presence, that wasn't an option anymore. So definitely there was an increase of working with influencers. First of all, how do you identify the right influencer for your brand?
I personally don't use influencers for my brand, but I would say for brands, I think, having followed influencers, it's very important that influence is on brand.
Yeah.
Choose them just as you would sort of someone who wanted to represent your, company in person, as that they're right on brand. I set up a charity, so in lockdown, which is called Design Havens for Heroes, and the power of influencers is immense.
Okay.
It went viral in 3 days.
Wow.
To the point it crashed both my business Instagram and the charity's Instagram. So don't underestimate them at all. They're very powerful, and if you work with them well, I'd say they can really enhance your brand. But for a brand particularly, the charity is different because it was about the NHS, so everybody was great. But it's just to make sure that they represent what you want to represent as a company.
Yeah. What about you, Marie-Louise?
Well, I suppose now I've got my Mrs. ML Mode hat on, so my account is, I share, it's a grown-up guide to fashion, style, beauty and wellness, so women in their 40s and 50s, and the kind of brands that have approached me to work with is so I've just done a campaign for National Rail, for example, for travel. I've worked with Number 7 Beauty, Collagen, so all the kind of brands that are, so not, even though my account is fashion, it is other businesses that are relevant, that are interested for the 50-something woman.
Yeah.
So I guess what it means for you, for your business, is how you work with influencers is, I would say, focusing on your audience and what influencer really represents who your audience is, and then really look at their content, look at their engagement, look at their community, and if you haven't got a budget to pay them, start by gifting, whether it's an experience or something. If they don't accept the gift, it means that the brand doesn't really resonate with them. They will accept the gift if it does, and this is just from my personal experience, and everyone wants to get behind, if you're a small businesses, with your mission, what is your mission, and approach them, direct message them on Instagram, make sure it's very personal, and with certain brands that I work with, we've built up a rapport, so I'm there for them and I enjoy working with them, and there's things that you can offer. You can do affiliate schemes, so they get a percentage of any sales if that's how they want to work, or you can give a discount voucher for their followers, so they're giving back to their followers.
Fiona?
In terms of just going back to how do you choose the people that you would want to work with, I think one of the things that's really important is I think any influencer worth their salt will have some data that you can actually, you can ask them, so how did your last campaigns go? What kind of brands are you working with? They will tell you, okay, I've worked with this brand, that brand, and this year, and these are the kind of brands that I like to work with, and this is what the results of that campaign were. So either that's in terms of bringing followers to their brand, bringing sales through affiliate links, which you can absolutely track and see how much money that campaign has earned you in that sense. And I would also say it's a very Marie Louise, I think you'd agree, it's a very sort of funny world as to whether you pay influencers or whether they accept things for free, and that's down to their personal choice. And what I have found is that I think we get great results when we pay influencers, and they certainly work hard for their money, so they should be paid. You know, it takes up a lot of work to set up those beautiful photographs and style the products that you send to them, so they deserve to be paid for that. But I've also found on the flip side that there are some who want to work to help small independent businesses, and they would be happy to gift something really unique and different that no one else out there is seeing. So it all depends on, you know, how they work with people.
And the key there is expectation management. So both sides understand if it's a paid engagement, this is what the expectation is and this is what the output is. And if it's not paid and it's a gifting scenario, then there isn't a sense of entitlement and there's an understanding about what the arrangement is. I was just going to move along because I'm conscious of time. And Fiona, you mentioned Pinterest earlier on. Now, this is something I know brands have heard repeatedly, that we need to make better use of Pinterest. I'll be the first to raise my hand and confess that it's something that I'm lagging behind on slightly. So what difference can Pinterest make to a business?
Pinterest is a really untapped resource at the moment. I think we all, we all recognise what Pinterest is and we all use it, but we all use it very differently, and we should be using it very differently as a brand or a store. Similarly to TikTok, not every brand is on there like they are on Instagram and Facebook. So we run campaigns and we run Pinterest profiles for home decor brands, and we see great results compared to Facebook and Instagram out there. So Pinterest is really different because it's a search-driven platform, which means that unlike social media where people just kind of have a habitual scrolling thing that they do, with Pinterest, they are going there because they are specifically looking for nice things that they want in their life. So, you know, lifestyle topics really work over there. So it's all to do with, you know, the weddings, the parties, the fashion, the interiors, the food, all of those kind of home and lifestyle categories work really, really well over there. And in the last year or so, Pinterest has really ramped up their shopping offering. They've made it easier than ever to connect your store, especially through the Shopify apps and integrations. And they are really, really supportive. Unlike Facebook and Instagram, I think I can't tell you how much money I've spent on Facebook campaigns over the years. I have spoken to Facebook twice on the phone, I believe, in all of those years. We have the support, as an agency, we have the support of Pinterest with a manager that sends me detailed insights and keyword strategies every Monday morning, checks on my campaigns, and gives us lots and lots of insight and help to, you know, make sure our campaigns are succeeding. So if you're not on there already, think about setting up your profile, think about setting up your shop, because the other thing is if you don't set up your shop, Pinterest tags products to your pins. So you will put up your lovely interiors picture on there, and it will tag other shoppable pins on there, because what it's trying to do is to make it a search-driven platform where it's really easy to just shop off the page. So if anyone's thinking about that in their business, come and talk to me afterwards.
I feel like I have a bit of homework there to make sure that we're pinning our shops to our Pinterest profile.
Yeah.
And that comment you made about Pinterest and actually having that two-way conversation, social media is something that has become almost like a customer service channel.
I mean, absolutely. Our customers DM us a lot, and we always make sure that we do it personally. It's not a generic reply. They say, oh, I like that lamp. Do you have a different lampshade? We may not have a different lampshade, but we're going to try and find you a different lampshade. Yeah. You know, it's having that conversation. It's kind of what I keep going back to. It's giving that in-store experience. And so if you personally can't answer all those DMs, and perhaps have somebody else who can do it, because people are impatient, they want, you know, they'll go and find that lamp somewhere else. So I think it's really important to use your DM messaging services on Instagram particularly.
But are any of us initiating conversations with customers on social media in direct messages or Facebook messaging or similar? Or is it a react thing? When you get the messages, when you respond to it?
It's a react thing for me, but you know, in stories you do polls and do questions, and that's a really good way of starting messages with your customers.
Fantastic. So in all of this, the question is, does it help the bottom line? And metrics play a big part in this. So let's talk numbers. which is fun. How do you analyze the impact of all of your social media activity? I'll start with you, Francesca.
Well, by sales, basically, directly. Yeah. I notice that if I do an IG live or an IG video, I will sell those products either during or after.
Yeah.
There's the algorithms as well, so it's regularly posting.
Yeah.
What you post, we chatted a bit the other day about it, it's what you have to kind of gauge what people are up to at the moment. People are not at home so much. They're going out. They're spending their money on going out more on holidays because lockdown's over. So what products do you need to push to adapt to how the environment is outside in the outside world as well?
Yeah. And are all metrics created equally? Are there some numbers or some metrics that are more important than others?
I think it goes down to your goals, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
But obviously everyone wants sales and more followers and a wide reach. But that's a brilliant thing about social media. All the analytics are there with Shopify. You've just got an incredible amount of insights to be able to see whether a campaign is delivered for you or not.
Yeah. And with things like Google Analytics as well, which sounds a little bit boring, but there's quite a lot of information that you can get from that.
Yeah, Google Analytics is essential to track the data that's coming through there. And I'd also say it's possible to set up systems to track, the lifetime value of your customers and how much your customers grow with you as a business. It's really important as well, and how you can keep them.
Yeah. So we've had a fantastic conversation, which has gone so quickly, and we're coming to the end of. I'm going to give you each an opportunity to share one key takeaway on if there's anything that we haven't discussed today that you'd want to share with the audience, or something practical or tangible that they can take away and put in place today.
I've got one.
Yeah.
I'll go first. No, I just wanted to flag up, because obviously I'm a fashion PR. I'm a PR. I've done PR all my career, and what's happened with that industry is that the media has shrunk by so much. I can't tell you. It's so hard now to get coverage in the media, traditional media, the newspapers and magazines now, because there's very few magazines. The newspapers themselves, the teams, they're always merging. There's so many redundancies. It's really challenging to get that profile. But what brands have got is I might not be able to get a feature on one of my founders or designers in the Sunday Times, but what they can do is with their Instagram, they can do a video on IGTV, they can tell their own story. So what social media has done for everyone is we're empowered by it, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
I just say that it is now your shop window. That's it. Just as you change your shop window per season, per week, however often you do it, you've got to have the same approach to your social media. You are in your shop, they're the customer, and you've just got to have the same approach as if you would do it in person.
Yeah, Fiona.
Social media certainly has democratized marketing. It has made it available and easy to get for everyone and everyone's business to do it from whatever level you're doing, from the starting, or however much you invest in it when your business grows to a larger scale. My takeaway for today is to, if you haven't already, think about Pinterest and TikTok. Think about those earlier emerging platforms which are now, they're not emerging as such, they've been around a long time, but they're now becoming so shopping focused that it's really important for this industry.
Yeah, and my final takeaway would be to make use of user-generated content. If someone's gone out of their way to create content about your business, about your brand, make use of it, get to know that person, engage with them, follow them, because that is someone who can really contribute something to your business. So that brings us to the end of our discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Janet.
Take care.